The Potsdam Conference, July 1945. So all of that stuff that was decided at the Yalta Conference was discussed and agreed to by the great American statesman, President Franklin Roosevelt. But, unexpectedly in April of 1945, Roosevelt died and his vice president, Harry Truman, had to take over. Truman and Roosevelt had some great differences in how they ran things. Roosevelt had been president since 1932, or 13 years. He knew how to talk to other countries and handle himself. Truman was new at this game of international politics, and didn't know how to handle other countries. One great secret that Roosevelt kept was the atomic bomb. Truman never knew about the work on building the atomic bomb until he became president, just months before the end of the war. Perhaps the greatest difference between Truman and Roosevelt was that Truman had what is called a Manichaean view of the world. This means that Truman believed that there is always a right side and a wrong side, and America was always right. This meant that he could not easily come to a compromise. Truman did not have a great knowledge of the situation after the war, so he had to take advice from his advisors, and he was not able to filter bad suggestions out. Finally, because he was new, he believed that he had to prove himself as a tough guy to both the Soviet Union, the rest of the world, and Americans back at home. It was these attitudes that turned off the rest of the world, especially Stalin. So now, Truman had to take over for America in the discussions about the post-war world. This was most evident at the Potsdam Conference in July of 1945. The purpose of the Potsdam Conference was to settle questions about the post-war situation. Unfortunately, the mood was negative. Harry Truman and Winston Churchill were hostile towards Stalin. Truman was extremely arrogant because he knew America had the atomic bomb. He held this over Stalin, and flaunted the fact that America was the only nuclear power. What Truman didn't know is that Stalin had awesome spies in America, and Stalin already knew that America had the bomb. Stalin had disobeyed the agreements that were decided at the Yalta Conference by keeping communist hold over all of Poland and also controlling larger portions of Germany than he was supposed to. This annoyed Truman and Churchill. Stalin was annoyed too, that Truman was using the atomic bomb to keep Stalin out of the major discussions. In the end, the Potsdam Declaration was only issued by Churchill and Truman, and was never agreed to by Stalin. The rising tensions between free countries and communist countries had already begun.